Dr. Berger here with my pal Elizabeth. Then we want to wish you all a happy St. Patty's Day. And Elizabeth has her little, it is supposed to be a shamrock tattoo here, but mom didn't do such a great job. But anyway, hopefully you guys are having an amazing March 17th and are ready for some green eggs and ham or beer or whatever it is for you. So I am your host today. We are going to rock and roll and hammer out our part two in our six-ish part series on primitive reflexes. One of the reasons I want to do this series is because we know that post-pandemic development is going to take a hit. And we covered that a couple episodes ago. So you can go on either the Intersect for Life Facebook page or Chirosecures and take a listen to that. But this is one of the things we're going to need to be savvy on with regard to what's coming down the road, what train wreck, because we're already seeing the research coming out about neurodevelopmental delays as a result of the stress during the pandemic. So make sure that you go back and keep up on that. So I'm going to head on over to my slides as we now share some cool information. So part two, we're going to go over Palmer and Rooting. So Elizabeth, why don't you go take a nap while mom finishes up and she'll be back. Okay, here we go, everybody. And then once again, I want to thank Chirosecure because I am lucky. See my little lucky shamrock up there. I am so lucky to, and the chiropractic profession is so lucky to have you in our corner and always being there for us and paving the way for chiropractors in the field. So thank you so much, Chirosecure, for giving us this platform and everything you do for us. All right, so I just want to bring you back to last month, our first, just kind of a little synopsis there. Remember, primitive reflexes are brainstem mediated. They are reflex, baby, reflex. Okay, sorry, I always have to do that. When it gets in my brain, I have to get it out so I can move on. So they are reflexes. They don't have cortical involvement, right? They're the roots of the nervous system. That's what I refer to, like the roots of the nervous system. But after the age maximum of 12 months, they should be low, they should not be active. They're kind of the low grass line, right? We don't see them where they're not active anymore. We need to now go in a neurodevelopmental trajectory to higher, more sophisticated neurological centers. So go back to the last episode and I went over that whole thing. So again, they integrate in a hierarchical level. And I'm going to start with Palmer and Rooting because they're a couple of the first to integrate. So that's what we're going to hang out and go over today. So Palmer, and the reason I put Palmer and Rooting together are for a couple of reasons. A, they both represent the tactile and proprioceptive sensory systems. So all reflexes require specific environmental experiences, movements, motor patterns to happen, motor milestones to happen in order for them to integrate. Lack of movement patterns or movement experiences will foster those to continue to be active. And then all reflexes represents maturation of the next hierarchical level of neurodevelopment, and that is our sensory motor systems. So Palmer and Rooting will help tactile and proprioceptive information or systems to integrate, to mature. So, and we also know, I know a lot of you think I might be from New York or something. Just recently, somebody asked, I did an interview, and somebody says, you must be from New York. And I'm like, why? Because I talk with my hands. And they're like, no, just the way you talk and the excitement. So anyway, Palmer and Rooting, mouth and hand expressions are intertwined. And so these two reflexes are intertwined, all right? Palmer should integrate about 2 to 3 months, provided the little fiddle fart has the right sensory environment experience, okay? So let's just look over okay, in a little fiddle fart, we are gonna take the little fiddle fart, okay? in the early months, and we look at their hand and we basically place our finger or an object in their hand and they grasp it, right? It's palmar grasp. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Now, in the older child, what you want to remember, the things we're going to go over today are good for ages 4, 4.5, and up. That older child and the adult. Remember, reflexes will reemerge, they'll reactivate during times of stress. That's been the last 2 years of so many lives, right? So the more in the older child or adult, the more a reflex mimics, looks like the reaction an infant would have, the more it's akin to that is the more active it is, the more it's hanging out, causing more neurological disturbance. So in the older little fart or the adult, we use, you can use a Q-tip, a little paintbrush. In this picture, it shows me using the sensory brush on the bottom of my reflex hammer. Okay. And you can simply use your hand and you're stroking the palm of the hand. Okay. Like is shown right here. You're stroking it down and across the palm. This one's across the palm right here. Okay. And you're seeing what the reaction is. Now, certainly if they have, especially if they have a lesion in the prefrontal cortex, it's going to be a very active, you're going to see them grasp. Okay. If you see a full or near full grasp, you're thinking, you're going to compare that with other neurological signs and symptoms. But if you don't see very apparent other concerning neurological signs and symptoms, you're thinking that reflex is still very active. But you also look for more subtle signs. Like, do you just have subtle twitching of the fingers? Not a full grasp. Lots of times it's the last 2 fingers and they just subtly twitch, or come in. You look for, do they respond like this or like this? Okay, it's itchy. Okay. Those are more subtle signs, but those are also signs that this reflex is active. And in times of stress, trauma, toxins, thoughts, technology use, tethered oral restrictions, or tethered restrictions throughout the body, including subluxations, those reflexes can activate even more. Okay, so I like to do this, and I'm going to show you a video at the end where you're going to see a little fiddle fart that certainly has some compromise. I like to do this with the individual standing upright against gravity, good posture, not slouched, good posture, feet together. And the reason why is I want to put the maximum sensory load possible on that individual to see if they can handle that load. So since this reflex represents tactile and proprioception, I like them upright, good posture, increase that proprioceptive and that vestibular load. Okay. And what is their reaction? All right. So we stroke 2 to 3 times. Make sure when you do this is if they're fisted, don't take your hand and try to straighten that palm because you're going to desensitize them, right? So if they're fisted and you take your other hand, your hands, and you're going to desensitize them. So ask them, can you put your hands out like this? Okay, can you put your hands flat? And then you do the stroking this way and this way, and you look for any reactions. Okay, and you can kind of grade them. All right, is it very mild? Is it moderate? Is it severe? And then you just know how active that reflex is. All right, so that is the palmar. So what's the deal with palmar? In your little fiddle farts, again, 2 to 3 months, right? You want this integrating, provided they have a good environment. You want to look for, are they bringing hands to midline? Are they up? And are they putting pressure on their hands? Is one hand subtly cupped like this? Okay. These are signs that you might have a super sensitive, super active palmar reflex. This is going to be associated with fine motor control. Palmar can affect handwriting, obviously, because of fine motor control of the hand, but also speech, because it is intertwined with the rooting, which we'll get to. So these are things to look for with your little fiddle parts that maybe this already at this age is hanging out, and what can I do to help? And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So things you might see in the older individual: poor trouble with activities of daily living, zippering things up, buttoning buttons, manual dexterity, handwriting, pencil grip, all those things with fine motor control of the hands. Okay. So those are things that can hang out and be troublesome. Your kiddos that are getting pulled out for handwriting, look at this. Okay. Look at if this reflex is just too active. And look at them together. Never single out one reflex. Look at all of them together. Okay. So one of the things you can do, I call it the thumb wrench, that you can do with any, and you can have parents do this too. And we're going to show some more things at the end with the video. But specifically for Palmer, what you can do is do a thumb wrench where you're taking, this is my bad wrist that I just broke. So let's see how this is going to work. So in other words, I would take Elizabeth, make sure she's on the camera. Now she's a little one, okay? So depending on the size of the hand of the person you're working with, you use your pinky or your thumb, whatever. With Elizabeth, I would use my pinky because it's small, okay? And put it in her palm and make sure she puts a fist around it. With the older child, I take my thumb, make sure they put a fist around my thumb and keep that closed. And you just take it and you're wrenching it inwards. So my hand is rested behind the palm, my thumb is in their palm, and I'm bringing this around. I'm making them clench my thumb as I'm doing it. And we do that about 5 times. Okay. If they can't keep their palm closed, what I will do is start them out with, I will use my fingers to keep that palm closed of theirs. And you can just do this thumb wrench. Okay. And it's good to do different thumb positions. I do thumb pointed out, hitchhiker thumb. So this way, thumb pointed up this way, and thumb tucked in. Okay, so that's my 3 positions for my thumb wrench: hitchhiker, up, and thumb in. Okay, so there we go on the thumb wrench. I do, if the right hand is active, where you're seeing the active palmer, I'll do the right hand and maybe do a couple times on the left hand just to keep it in check as well. All right, so rooting. Rooting in the infant is basically, you stroke their cheek and baby opens their mouth and turns towards you, ready to suck, ready for food, okay? So this reflex hangs out to about 3 to 4 months of age. Again, it's going to be associated with tactile and proprioception. This is a very bonding reflex, especially with mom, because of the nature of the breastfeeding that goes with this reflex. So it is a very bonding and exploration of that infant. So in the older fiddle part, what you will do, older child, older adult, you're going to start at the top of the nasal bridge. Don't go too far up into the near the eye, because you're going to get that blink reflex going. So just start at the top of the nasal bridge and just stroke down. Just stroke down the side and then stroke down this other side. You'll do that 2 to 3 times. And what you're going to look for is on the side you're stroking, do you just see a little twitch maybe of that side of the mouth? Do you see a full opening? Do you just see a smile? Again, full opening is going to mean that individual's got a very active rooting reflex because it's mimicking the infantile response. If you just see a little quiver on the same side you're stroking, that's more of a mild response. But again, then you look at these and think, okay, even if it's a mild response, when that child is under a stressor or higher stress load, does that become more active? Okay, so rooting is very easy. So things, if this is hangout things that you might see, okay, social and learning problems. Any reflex, any primitive reflex that's active is telling you that higher cortical, more sophisticated centers of the brain are subpar. So we will tend to have learning, behavior, social challenges. Poor articulation. So those, kind of take a survey in your practice. Those little farts in the primary grades that are getting pulled out for handwriting, are they also getting pulled out for speech? Because very likely they are. Do they have a lot of sensitivity around the face? Are they picky eaters or messy eaters? They drool a lot. They may have poor manual dexterity, again, because it's so much tied with the palmar. Okay. And again, hand and mouth movements are intertwined. So what does this look like in a classroom? This looks like a little part that's supposed to be practicing their spelling words or writing a story or what have you, and they can't be quiet. And so they get in trouble all the time for talking when they're supposed to be quietly reading or writing, excuse me. They're supposed to be doing something with their hand, and they cannot do that unless they're talking because of these hand mouth movements intertwined, so they get in trouble all the time. So that's an active rooting. I have a great continuing ed class all on primitive reflexes on our Intersect for Life website, so we go more into depth with this. But I want you to look at the overall picture, especially if in your history intake you're seeing that little fiddle fart is being pulled out for special needs classes, for handwriting, speech, whatever. Take a look. Are these reflexes there, and are they too active? So I'm gonna show a video. This little fiddle fart is you're gonna see that she definitely has developmental challenges, a lot of poor postural control, which is going to be your proprioception and your vestibular control. But we're also going to show a couple things that we can do to work if these two reflexes are active. So let's have some fun. Let's give it a go. It'll take a minute to roll. Okay, ready? Okay, we're going to use my secret brush right here. Can you stand and put your hands out here? This is the palmar reflex. Okay, so the palmar grasp of an infant, when you stroke their palm, they grasp. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my little secret brush right here. Can you put your feet together again and hug your feet? Okay, and put your hands out like this. Okay, I'm going to take my secret brush and I'm just going to brush your hands right here. Like
I never done that before.
Look at that. Can you close your eyes and let me do it again? So the palmar, and it tickles. The palmar is going to represent the tactile and proprioceptive sensory systems. So oftentimes you'll see them do this afterward. You saw her hands come in a little bit. Carly, can you come here again for a minute? Okay. Can we do that later on? Did my secret brush make your hands tickle?
Yeah.
A little tickly, a medium tickly, or a lot of tickly? There were a lot of tickly, huh? Okay, and she had a moderate to marked positive active palmar reflex. I'm going to go straight into the rooting reflex now. So I'm going to take can I take my secret brush and can I go? I'm going to just, so that's a rooting reflex. We go from the nasal bridge. You want to open your eyes for a minute? Okay, can you step off the board? Okay, ready?
Okay, open your eyes. Great job. Is that a little tickly, medium tickly, a lot of tickly? A lot of tickly. So her palmar and rooting are still very, very active. Again, it's going to represent tactile and proprioceptive sensory systems. So they might be a little bit tactile or proprioceptive defensive. A couple things we can do to help that. Can we do a little game now? Can we do a little exercise? Okay, so one exercise we can do to integrate both the palmar and the rooting. Palmar and rooting are very closely interrelated. They're both going to, if retained, have problems with moving the mouth and the hands at the same time. So a lot of these kiddos get in trouble for trying, when they're supposed to be quiet and writing, they need to talk at the same time. Because that, again, the hand and the mouth want to move at the same time. I'm letting her stay on this wobble board because she likes it and it's calming for her. So, hey, whatever way we can get it. All right, what I'm going to do, we're going to play a little game, okay? And what I'm going to have you try, do you want to try it? Why don't we try it off the wobble board right now? Can you step down for a minute? Yeah, I'm going to have you step off of there because I'm going to have you drink some water at the same time you crush up some of my fancy paper up there. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you some of these, and I want you to crumple them up into a ball. Hang on, like this, while you drink some water. Wow, can you try it? Okay, so I'll put the water in with the straw, and we'll get some crinkly sheets, okay? And you can make some snowballs. You can make some snowballs with my paper, and I will hold this. Ready? Go. Step on the straw, watch it crinkle. There we go. Crinkle that heart, make that heart. A heart snowball. Are you drinking some water? Okay. Can we do another one? Can we do one more? Here, ready? Okay. And the smaller the straw, the more they have to suck. Oh, good job. Can you crinkle this one up more? Crinkle it hard. Squish it hard. Keep drinking your water. The other thing you can do is have them blow bubbles. You can get some sets of bubbles and have them blowing bubbles while they crinkle paper. So that way we get palmar and rooting both at the same time. Good job, Brody. It's fun. Good job. Okay, so another thing you can do, the palmar reflex is going to integrate. Yeah, you do have a palmar reflex, and we're going to help it feel better. So a lot of tactile input in the first couple of months of life, when they're about 3 months old or so, 4 months on their belly, they're pushing up. We want to make sure you get a lot of tactile stimulation of the palms of their hands. So another way we can help that palmar reflex if it's active is we can make some lizards. Ready? Ready. Okay, we're going to put your head this way, just like that. And we're going to put your arms like this. And we're going to pretend like we're a lizard and we're moving through the mud. Ew. Yeah. Can you look right here at these fingers? And we're going to pull down really tight. And we try to get them, for some hand-eye coordination too, we try to get them to watch their hand, track it with their eyes. Now it's going to come back up here. Bam. And can you turn your head to the side? Okay, and watch these fingers right here. And can you pull it down? Now, if I have a kiddo that doesn't want to keep their hands flat, I will put my hand on top of theirs. Bam. Okay, can you do the side? Can you turn your head? Okay, and you do it yourself. Pull it down. Pull, pull, pull. And it comes up, bam! Okay, ready? Turn your head to the side. Ready? Pull, pull, pull. Really hard. We keep it really flat, and we go all the way down. And I like to do it if we can get different surface textures, from the leather to the cloth. That way we get different textures on the palms. Good job, Carly. Thank you.
Okay, so that gives you a couple things to think about. You can also use the lizards for ATNR. Oftentimes they use that for ATNR as well. Remember, give your little fiddle parts a lot of stimulation, a lot of environmental experiences in order to try to mitigate those reflexes from staying active. Cotton balls, feathers, corduroy, felt around the mouth, on the hands. Give them these different experiences, exposures in the early months of life to help them integrate. So those are some things to be proactive and preventative in nature, as well as to help mitigate or integrate a active reflex if it's hanging out. So hopefully you enjoyed those tips and tidbits on the Palmer and Rooting. And again, ChiroSecure, you're amazing. Thank you so much for all you do for our profession. And I look forward to seeing you next month, April already, the third Thursday of April. And the first Thursday of April will be the amazing Eric Walke to give you more drop dead amazing information. Until then, you guys keep being amazing and keep turning the tide and changing lives.
Today's pediatrics show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by ChiroSecure.